Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Well, I promised you guys a Dogman sighting or story that includes Dogman and a U.F.O. And I said I was going to do that yesterday, but today is my daughter's 14th birthday, so I had to get prepped for it. So today I'm going to give you that encounter. Also, 3 others to go with it. Now, before I get into these encounters, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help this channel continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fan fiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that don't fit on this channel. That link is in the description below as well. And I also started a GoFundMe page to help get the equipment necessary for cryptid, ghost, and urban exploration uploads. Now, if that's anything that you're willing to help with, that link is in the description below as well. Now, I've definitely taken enough of your time and passed a whole day away, so let's get on with these 4 Dogman sighting/encounters. Shall we? This first Dogman encounter. Dogman from a U.F.O. submitted to me by Ninjan04. The U.F.O. phenomenon seems to really get everywhere. It's associated with Sasquatch sightings, bizarre entities that would otherwise be called demons, and now seemingly the nightmarish Dogman that supposedly haunts the forests of North America. It was early June of 2016 in southern New York, and 3 friends, Jamie, Dan, and an unnamed witness, decided to go camping on a mountain. Apparently, they didn't know if they were technically allowed to do this. But there are a lot of fire pits in the area, and so they did it anyway. They set up their tent and got their fire going and just sat having a few beers and bitching about their women. All of a sudden, the woods became completely silent. You couldn't even hear crickets, and apparently felt like there was a lightning storm because static electricity could be felt in the air. The hairs on the back of the unnamed witness' neck stood up, according to Jamie. The air was humming. Immediately after this, there was a deep bass noise, and light flashed up in the distance and illuminated the whole forest. It looked like a real big firework explodes for the first few seconds, but it lasted for about a minute before it split up into 3 or 4 other lights and shot back down into the trees. We could see the lights glowing out in the woods, and then there was a big gust of wind and it was gone. Everything smelled like it had just rained, but it didn't. The witnesses didn't know what to do, but decided it was likely just a meteor, so they went back to talking amongst themselves. At about 2 a.m., they decided to go to sleep. The unnamed witness and Jamie slept in a tent, but Dan decided to sleep by the fire. Roughly an hour later, the witnesses are awoken by Dan shaking them, saying there's something big watching the camp. The creature was about 50 feet away from the fire, according to Dan, and he apparently thought it might have been a bear. But it was standing on 2 legs and bobbing backwards and forwards as if it was trying to get a better look at them. While Dan was talking to the witness about this, all 3 of them heard a loud scream that apparently sounded like a pig being slaughtered, but was deeper and made the witness's ears ring. Apparently, 3 or 4 more creatures came running towards the campsite as embers of the fire kicked up and landed on the tent. The Dogmen kept running up to the tent and then promptly running back into the woods. Every once in a while, one of them would scream again and pull on one of the tent poles, dragging the whole tent 2 or 3 feet. By now the whole tent was collapsed on one side and the witnesses were screaming as loud as they could. Suddenly, everything went quiet again and the witnesses ran towards their truck as fast as they could and hit the gas. When they were just about to leave, one of them saw the Dogman illuminated in the road by the truck's headlights. At this point, the witnesses attempted to gun it and drive the vehicle straight past the creature. But it then straightened up and puffed out its chest. The witnesses estimate the creature was about 8 feet tall, had dark gray fur all over its body except for the front, where the hair was white or yellow. The face looked like a dog, but not really. Apparently, the witnesses knows what Bigfoot looks like, and it was definitely different. The Dogman didn't even move when the witnesses drove at it, and they had to swerve the truck around to avoid hitting it. They drove back down the mountain and parked the truck in a gas company parking lot and considered telling the local police, but were discouraged because they didn't know if they were camping somewhere they shouldn't have been. In the morning, after the witnesses had sobered up, they drove back to the campsite to find their property had vanished, including the tent and cooler. Today's second Dogman encounter comes to us from Jackson, Kentucky. Hello, my name is Joshua. Although I've never been to Wisconsin, I have seen this creature. It was 15 years ago in Jackson, Kentucky. I was going to check on my dogs outside one night because they were making some weird sounds, which were located about 40 yards from my house. So me and my cousin start walking towards the dogs, who are chained up, and all of a sudden, we hear one of the dogs make the most helpless moan I've ever heard. So we start running towards where the dogs were, and we turn our flashlight on and get 15 yards from them. And we got a glimpse of something standing over my dog. I shined the light right on him, and I was terrified by what I saw. This creature looked to be 7 to 8 feet tall, with a wolf-like head and human-type body with fur. His fur was splotchy, though. It looked like it had mange. The creature heard us and turned around and started walking towards us. I just froze up. I couldn't move a muscle because I was so scared. My cousin started running, and when he saw I was froze up, he fired a gun in the air, and when the creature heard the noise, he took off straight up a hill on 4 legs. My cousin grabbed me and said, "Come on," and we ran as fast as we could to the house and locked the door. When daylight hit, we went outside to check on the dogs, but one of them was dead with his head decapitated. A couple of days before the run-in with this creature, we were climbing a hill, and we came upon a coyote head that was just lying there, and it was all slimy looking, and there was no sign of the body. I've never been back to those woods again, and I have never seen a Dogman again, and my cousin told one of our uncles, and he just made fun of us. So it took me years to speak of this incident. Today's third Dogman sighting/encounter. Hello, my name is Eric. I spent many days, years, out on Hospital Road as my best friend lived there when we were 11 until now. I'm currently 30 years old, and I guarantee that this Bray Road beast is very real. I can't even talk about it without tears coming to my eyes. First, I will tell you that I really didn't believe in anything like this, but this baby is the real deal. Okay, there were 3 of us camping, and we started a small fire and suddenly realized that we needed a couple of chairs. At this point, 2 of us left on a tractor with a trailer to make the long trek back to the house and grab the chairs and a couple other needed items for camping. On our way back, we encountered a good friend, pale white, running with everything he had to get somewhere safe. He told us there was something like a werewolf out there, and there was no way he was going back out there nor back to this area. The farm boy we just laughed because he didn't believe in this type of thing either. The 2 of us went out there to the campsite only for a split second, and right away the howling began. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but as the howling started to get closer, I caught a glimpse of what was out there with my spotlight, and I totally freaked out. Started my dirt bike, and my big farm boy friend was screaming, "You're not leaving me!" He jumped on the tractor, and I've never rode so fast in my life across a fully tilled field without caring about anything but getting away. He was so mad and scared at the same time because the tractor was not nearly as fast as the dirt bike, but at this point, I was saving my own ass. It's true, it stands on its hind legs and is vicious as hell looking, and its howl is something so scary sounding that it is unimaginable to say the least. I'll never go back out there without a gun. Maybe I won't even go out there with a gun. Today's fourth and final Dogman encounter comes to us from England. What are most likely the inspiration for all the werewolf stories still seem to persist in English countryside. One would think there was little room for a large bipedal creature such as a dogman to hide in the English countryside, but there appears to at least be a few hanging around. These reports of the dogman are pretty hard to refute, and there are a few things that could be misidentified that would explain this sighting. My stepdad noticed something moving about in the garden from looking out his window as he waited for the toast to be done. He questioned it and said, "Do you see that?" So I took a look out the window, and as we tried to work out what was, he switched the floodlight on. Plain as day, this thing was on all fours drinking water from the pond. It was huge. I would describe it as black and very wide, very muscular. It turned its head and looked towards the house. Here we have two people staring at a creature illuminated by a floodlight. This doesn't leave out room for misidentification. They both had time to clearly see this creature and try to figure out what it was. Now, it could have been a hellhound at this point, except for what it did next. My stepdad and I just stood there in shock. It moved away from the pond, stood up on its back legs, and leaped over the end of the garden hedge. The hedge is real high, about 10 feet, and it was gone. This leaves little doubt that what they saw was in fact a dogman. Few other creatures even come close to fitting that description, or could have leaped over a 10-foot hedge. 4 dogman sighting/encounters. Wow, guys, I freaking love dogman encounters. I just can't get enough of them. And you know, subscribers are sending them in to me daily. I've got a stack of them on my desk. And with the everyday life of that I have, I just wish I could read you guys 4 dogman encounters a day. And when I can't, I get real upset. Anyway, I hope you guys loved these encounters. I was especially fond of the first one because Ninja 04, I said, "Hey, can I do this story?" And he said, "Yeah, man, do this story." And I was excited because it's awesome. Just how it was put together, written, great. The last story, Dogman in England. I mean, God, you've had accounts of hellhounds. Who's to say all of these accounts of these hellhounds aren't Dogman? Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed these 4 Dogman sightings/encounters, and I bid you farewell. I hopefully will have some encounters out for you tomorrow. I've got a real cool story. A subscriber of ours is having some issues in some woods by their house. I'll bring that to you very soon, hopefully tomorrow. Anyway, guys, have a great day.